Hi everyone, we are at TF Expo 2015, and this is the last of our interviews for the show, and I'm joined by Shirley of Plushology and Optimus Prime, but Optimus Prime is a silent type. He is literally looking at me. Literally looking at me. Now, I have seen your stuff at conventions for a couple years now, and it's less so that I've seen your stuff at conventions, more so I have seen more and more people with your stuff at conventions. Creating plush Transformers, is this like, have you made like plush or textile stuff before and then applied it to Transformers, or did it go the other way around?
It's actually it's an accidental hobby. I'm like, oh god.
That's a great phrase. I like that.
It was an accident because it's like, at the time I was still living with my parents, and I'm like, just browse on eBay, ooh, what's this? It's a custom plush. It's actually, it was a very, very well done plush of San from Princess Mononoke, and she had like this removable wolf mask and her spear. I think she had a spear, but I was like, oh, that's so cool. Where do I get one? And after a while, it took me a few moments to read the description, and I followed it back to a message board community, which is no longer in existence. It died several years ago, which is really sad. But anyways, at the time, it was a very, very small community of maybe 5 or 6 people, a dozen maybe at best. And I found the maker, and she was the head of that message board forum thing, and it was just a bunch of random fans trying to make plushes. And I was like, well, I can sew? Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. My first plush was horribly done. It had the head of like a football, kind of like Stewie from Family Guy. And he had these great big chunky gorilla arms and these little pistachio feet. I was like, okay. And then I don't know how to do hair, so I just sloppily glued on some yarn, and then I grabbed some paint and started painting eyes, and was like, oh, that's lopsided. Let me fix that. Oh no, now that's too big. And it just got worse and worse, and then I was like, finally gave up, and it was like one eye's bigger than the other. I was like, oh, it was so horrible. I burned it like 6 months later. I was like,
but you remember the experience.
Yes, I remember the experience, and I didn't give up from there because it was a very different community from what I see today. Because everybody's just like so supportive. No, it's great for our first try, and it's like, keep going, keep going. And yeah, so I actually started to do it with a lot of anime dolls and stuff. But not a whole lot of people know I did a lot of human dolls, because I kind of don't post a whole lot of pictures. I did do one recently of hollow form Rodimus from the comics. He's got hollow matter. He looks like Marty McFly, some 80s reject. I'm like, oh, cool. I actually want to do Megatron's hollow form because he's better looking, but I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do Roddy. And yeah, you can kind of see, I had the doll kind of hiding behind my table for people who wanted to see, but there is an anime sort of influence in the work and stuff, because yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah.
I tried to do a few robots, but they weren't too great at the time. I really liked Gundam, because that's the robot stuff that I started with, was Gundam. Nobody ever asked to commission a Gundam. It makes me sad. Yeah, I didn't pick up
that's kind of like a hint now. Yeah. Someone should, well.
Yeah. No, do it. Just kidding. No. I didn't pick up doing Transformers till after the 2007 movie. Oh boy, yeah, that Bayformer movie, whatever.
Timing though is great. Like so many people not just join the community, but just realize like, oh, I do like Transformers as a result of, for better or for worse, as a result of that film.
Yeah, well, I had watched a little bit of G1 growing up. I mean, I watched so few episodes, I didn't know Megatron was the leader of the Decepticons. Someone's gonna kill me for saying that. No, I thought it was Soundwave, because I was like, Optimus versus Soundwave. Oh,
well, he's got the faceplate and the voice, right?
Yeah, well, he looks like it. I was like, oh, he must be, you know. That's like the Decepticon I remember most, was Soundwave.
Yeah.
And it's like Optimus, and yeah, Bumblebee. And then I was like, I'm not sure who the other characters are. I can't remember because I watched so little of it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, that movie came out, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably try that. Oh, a few tries there. Look, I've got an Optimus Prime. Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
And it just sort of exploded.
Well, the way that it's picked up, and it's practically become like there are people who have plushes, but then like a lot of people now, especially in Transformers and at Transformers conventions, it's like you can almost for sure think if you see someone carrying a plush around, it's a really good chance it came from the work you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm kind of responsible for a lot of them out there. I'm kind of obsessive, and I'm like, so lots of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know, I think I got tired at a couple points, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pull back a bit because this is looking kind of sloppy. I think some of them look eh.
Well, the thing that I find so interesting about him is like a lot of the work you do there's a lot of parallels to what a lot of 2D artists do. Like there's the people who do commissions, they prepare prints for a convention, etc.
Yeah.
And excuse me, in your case, like I remember like you'll come to a show and you've got like a lot of stuff like just you filled out a table and you've got different product types and I believe you've done commission work as well, right? Like in
yeah, I've done some commission work, but it gets really exhausting, and some of them I don't feel that they turn out quite the way I was hoping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it kind of looks okay. I'm not sure. And well, the people who buy it are like, no, it's great, it's fine. I'm like, okay, but I don't know. I pulled back for a little while, and re-engineered the pattern so it was more workable and stuff, and it's like much better, much easier.
Yeah. And
it looks better to me. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's like it's the workload you see from any given artist, except in your case it's three-dimensional.
Yeah.
So the space that must be devoted to it, like it's got a Z-axis, there's volume.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask you, just kind of answered the question, like, have there been points where it's like you get overwhelmed almost, like, I've got all this stuff I got to make,
yeah,
and then it's made, I'm not at a show yet, I haven't sent it off yet, it's over here, but there's a whole lot of it, like,
it gets overwhelming at times, and it's like, okay, no more of that. And then it's like people are like, why don't you take more commissions? Because I don't have the time or the stamina.
Because they take a whole commission plush that amount of volume now is taken up by one every time I commission one.
I don't think people understand how long it takes to sew something. I mean, some people might understand, but some don't. It's like, it does. I can't just sit there and draw a few lines and voila, there's your sketch in 30 minutes or something. I wish I could do that.
You can't sketch a plush out. Like,
it
there's
doesn't
no
work
real
that
equivalent,
way.
right?
Like
no. It's a finished piece. That's
every stitch has to be in place and stuff, and then sometimes the threads crisscross and I go to pull it and snaps and I'm like, okay, it's not quite, there's quite colorful language, but no, I'll spare you that.
No, that's happened to me when, video encoding doesn't play nice, and it's like, well, okay, so I guess I have to re-encode this alternate camera angle until it matches the one I had before. Now the sound's drifting. Now I'm punching the floor and screaming. Well, not screaming, but I'm punching the floor and then screaming because my hand hurts. But the medium you work in, it's so physical. And there are needles involved, like
lots of needles.
Do you have kind of like a rhythm now, or is it still like a jab finger will happen once you get into it?
I don't really stab myself unless I'm not focusing, because if I'm focused and stuff, I'll never stab myself. But the minute I'm like thinking, I need to make sure this is getting done, and it's like I'm not concentrating. Boink. There it goes. Yeah. The worst ones are needles under the quick.
Oh man, that has happened to me all of once, and that was the fact that now I know what it feels like is the worst, because the imagination leaves nothing to it. It's like, oh yeah, that.
It depends. Sometimes it depends on the fabric I'm working on, because the plush I have with me right now, he's done in Krypton suede. It's like, ooh, Krypton. The fabric's supposed to be for upholstery. It has like the density of leather. And on this particular one, I broke 3 dozen smaller needles and a dozen 5-inch doll needles, just trying to push through. And yeah, I actually put the back of a needle through the knuckle of my finger. That was wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was very painful, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, that was wonderful.
Well, because now it's become, I remember the time that I went through my knuckle.
Yeah, well, actually, the fabric was so stiff, my hands were swollen for a week, solid. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even open a jar of pickles or whatever. I was like, I can't open these food containers so I can have food.
Like legit suffering for the art.
Yeah.
The prime that you've got here, like the 7-pound prime, as I held briefly in the dealer room,
yeah,
is legit 7 pounds. At TF Con, the thing that like blew my mind that I saw was when you showed how the chest opened.
Oh yeah, nobody's expecting that.
And I think that's what really captured my imagination is like when I in a previous interview we were talking about preconceptions almost of a medium, and when I think plush, I think it's a soft thing. That looks like a character.
To call this one a plush is a disservice to the art. He's more accurately a soft sculpture because he's not very squishy, he's not very cuddly. If you try to roll over him, I'm sure you're not going to like it. Because he will not flatten. In fact, he might just throw you off the bed.
Well, he has the outward appearance.
Yeah,
and then you
it's
see,
like a fabric-covered action figure.
Yeah, you see these moving parts, this mechanism in the torso, and like the big question I have is like, especially as you started off, just making character plushes. What like did the project just come to you, or is this the result of just thinking, what if I try this, or what if I try that?
I call my pet project or something like that. He's my little test monkey. I was actually in sort of a burnout phase and just didn't feel like doing anything, and the keybots happened. Good grief. Those little things. I didn't want to make them anymore, and I was like, no, I don't want to make those terrible looking things anymore. And my friends loved them and they're like, you should try to, make more. I'm like, nah. And then I found a way to do custom screen printing. Well, actually, I don't do the custom screen printing. I do all the designs and send it off to a custom screen printer to do it to get it printed on fabric and stuff. And I blame
my. Is that like silk screen style printing?
Yeah, sort of like that. And then the fabric comes back and I cut it out and do all the rest and stuff. And that's the story of the keybots and stuff. But then I was like, yeah, the custom printing would come much later though, because I did some by hand with puffy paint and stuff. I was like, yeah, look, I'm so bored and so burnt out, I have no motivation. And then I was like super burned out and no motivation and stuff. And I saw a picture for Prime Ratchet, and I was like, oh, how pretty. I wonder, can I make a plush as detailed as what I'm seeing? And about 24 tries later, I had something. I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. He looks close and okay, not bad.
Yeah.
And things like, and then I made a smaller one for the BotCon 2011 art show. And I didn't expect to win. I just wanted to go for shits and grins. And the next thing I know, I was like, oh, by the way, did you know you won? I was like, what? Huh? What?
And they have legit awards at those things, right? Like the kind of clear thing.
I have no idea what to do with it. I use it as a bookend.
I've seen them. I don't. If you don't have a mantle place, it's like this is literally just a heavy thing.
Yeah, I don't have a mantle, but I just kind of put it on my shelf, and it keeps my DVDs from falling over. I'm like, they just stay right there. That's good.
In case the listener doesn't understand, it's legit heavy.
Yeah, and I did, and actually, that got Hasbro's attention. Oh my God.
Oh really?
Yes, they actually approached me and asked me to make a few plushes for them. I was like, oh shit.
It's like, you guys make Transformers.
Yeah. Well, they admit that their plushes are total, not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff. So, but they
on a different tier.
Yeah.
I'm making a lower gesture with my hand. Different tier.
Yeah. But they didn't end up doing anything mass production wise. I think they just wanted it because they just wanted it. And stuff.
Yeah.
And like Hasbro Studios themselves too also wanted some. So you have Hasbro themselves all the way on the East Coast and Hasbro Studios all the way on the West Coast. I'm like, what? And yeah, Hasbro until just wanted a Ratchet, and then I did a smaller Prime Bumblebee and a Prime Optimus for him, and then Hasbro Studios actually wanted the full-size detailed Optimus along with Ratchet, and I did a couple for them, and I was okay with the way Optimus turned out. He's more of my pet project than Ratchet is. Ratchet's just retired. I don't do anything with him. But yeah, Optimus went through a few revisions, quite a few revisions. About 3 years in pattern development and stuff like that. But like the final version, I was like, I want to see if I can get his chest to open up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I studied a lot of the took a lot of screen caps and studied a lot of the screen caps and stuff. I'm like, how the heck does that chest move? And stuff to get it to move as close to the show as I could. And about 4 or 5 tries later, and lots of screaming, because I was pretty frustrated. I wasn't getting it. It was like, no, that's not working. I wasn't getting the shapes of the plates right.
Yeah.
And then I finally got it, and then he was too front heavy and he fell over. I was like, ugh. Yeah, he's so front heavy. I actually ended up having to go back in and pull some stuffing out and buy glass beads and insert bags of glass beads into the back to balance the weight so that he could stand and not fall over and stuff.
Yeah.
That's part of why it contributes to him being 7 freaking pounds.
Well, it's just the nature of everything about him. Like this one piece. Like to me, like just it says a whole lot about what I find really interesting about not just the plush work, but like a lot of Transformers fan-made stuff that like pushes against the limits of its own medium in a way. So like the way you put it, he's less plush, more like this fusion, like soft sculpture.
Fabric covered action figure.
Yeah, fabric covered action figure. Like
everybody's like, now make him transform. I'm like, yeah, that could take a little bit more R&D.
It's like, let me tell you how long the chest took. All right, now his whole body.
To build him completely, it took about at least 1,000 hours and stuff. And then people are like, is he for sale? I'm like, go buy a new car. Like, seriously, it'll be cheaper. Go buy a new truck. It'll be cheaper.
Yeah, like, it'll be 1,000 times whatever I decide the hourly rate is if I ignore all the other stuff.
Yeah, because his hands have a stop-motion armature that's fused to a plastic armature because the stop-motion wasn't strong enough to support the weight of the arm. So I fused it to a sturdy plastic armature. But the stop-motion parts alone cost me $1,000 in parts alone. I'm like, that's like $1,000 right there. So yeah. And if you don't want to make a very absurd offer, please don't ask about buying that sort of stuff. Yeah, his chest opens through a series of magnets, hinges, and joints. It's all ouch. There goes the magnet.
Yeah, just the.
Yeah, and then the matrix comes out just like that.
Yeah. It's just like, I just remember the first time I saw all the moving parts.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not supposed to do that.
It's not supposed to do that. No, his faceplate comes off via magnets as well.
Yeah.
Those super strong silver neodymium magnets that you pinch your fingers with. Well, okay, if you get the big ones, they really pinch.
If you eat 2, you're probably going to be dead. Yeah. So like the skills you're picking up, just like I would call this it seems to me like it's a combination of a passion project and also an ongoing just like I want to learn something kind of project.
Yeah,
like
pretty much.
The skills you pick up through this, like this goes this starts to go well beyond just making plushes. Is this like do you feel like you're banking them all and that just some of those skills sans the plush skills could lead into just other kinds of projects, like now that you've had work with magnets, you've had work with just designing simple joint systems, not saying like action figures, but like just other kinds of things outside of the soft fabric media.
Yeah, I have some crazy ideas in mind, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to apply it. I'm going to come across something where I'll be like, I've done something similar before and stuff like that, because like the moldable plastics that cosplayers use, I'm like, well, what if I scaled that down and because I saw the use for cosplay, and I played with it a bit and stuff, and I actually have a heat gun, and I got the plastic so hot that I melted my own fingers. That was great.
Ouch.
Yeah, every time I hurt myself, that was great.
Well,
yeah, it's like...
I hope that by the end of this podcast, people realize it is actually physically difficult to like extend out, like to work on this stuff and extend outside of the medium. It's not like, oh, it's so simple, it's so easy.
Yeah, most people think, oh, you just sew it together and put some stuffing. No, that would be a plush. This is a soft sculpture. There is fire involved, there is torch, there is heat guns, there is melted skin. It's like, that's not normal in a plush. You don't melt things.
Yeah, let me just as a quick thing. Here's my injury list.
Yeah, one of these days, I'm tempted sometimes to like photograph all the gory injuries and be like, "Would you like to see my?" Yeah, no, we don't want to see that. Yeah,
yeah, that could be an easy answer if someone goes like, "So what's your trade secret?" Like, injuries.
Lots of them. Yes.
They lead to discovery.
And then it's like. Well, it's interesting because some of the injuries aren't even on the hands. They're like, did you get into a fight? Yes, you should see the other guy. No, never sew when sleeping because, or when getting sleepy because I was sewing one time. I forget what I was sewing something, whatever. I forget, and I didn't realize how close my face was getting to the needle.
Oh, God.
I poked myself in the cheek with the needle, and I dragged that needle across my cheek, and I got this 3-inch gash across my cheek. And at the time I had a part-time job or something, and I go in, and my coworkers were like, did you get into a fight? Yes, you should see the other guy.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Don't mess with me.
Yeah, it's like,
I won the fight.
Yeah, I won. This is just a minor flesh wound, something like that. But yeah, it gets a little tiresome when people like ask, how much for this one? No.
Well, like just
it's just not cost effective.
All the time they ever, the different mediums and stuff that go into it. This is some years ago I had a really fun discussion with cosplayer goes by Mirai Baby at another TF Con, and I always remember she went through this learning experience where she wanted to make a jazz costume, inadvertently learned how to do fiberglass manufacturing as a result, and it ended up with an unwearable costume because it weighed nearly as much as like a car, or was as solid as a car, and if she fell down a staircase she would literally die inside of it. But like these mediums where it's so easy to look at them and say like, oh, I think I know what that's all about. It's like, for plushes, oh, all you do is you sew stuff around soft things, or in cosplay, oh, all you do is just sort of approximate a costume, and like the not just the artistry, but like the artisanship, the engineering that goes into stuff. Like
the Krypton suede fabric is very unforgiving. Trying to get the plastic inserted into it was very, very difficult, and then it's like, okay, how am I going to sew this shut because the insert will not flex and the fabric will not stretch or give me any sort of flex and stuff. I ended up actually using a pair of pliers to push and pull needles, and those needles just kept breaking. I mean, that's how I broke 3 dozen needles and stuff.
Well, and you're doing stuff where there is ostensibly, there's no like tutorial.
Well, it's not
reference.
Like a soft foam insert, which, is pliable and you can kind of work it in with a little, I don't know, squeeze it with tweezers or whatever and just kind of pull it on like you're wearing a sock or something where everything's pliable.
Yeah.
So the parts with the plastic insert stuff, this is not going to forgive. And if you tear the seam when you're trying to insert it, you're gonna have to sew the whole piece all over again, and it's like, and stuff. And you have to have the opening big enough because you can't squish this piece into the fabric. The opening has to be big enough, so that it's what they call bigger stuffing hole. So you have to use a much larger series of. I don't do a single large stitch because there's no way that I'm going to be able to pull that thread through tight. I have to do a series of small stitches, so it takes more time, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm never getting this thing done. I'm never getting this, and I finally did get it done. And it's like, yes, I finally got it done. But yeah, and the fabric I chose, aside from being tough as nails and for upholstery, was expensive as hell. I'm like, yeah, that was not smart. If you go to the official site for Krypton Suede, they sell it for $69.99 a yard or something like that. I'm like, $70 a yard, and the cheapest you can find it in like other sites is like $35 a yard or something. I don't know. It's
and just to be clear,
expensive.
This is not a short piece. Like, this is a tall Optimus.
Oh yeah, he's 27 inches tall.
Yeah, like he's sizable. He has presence.
Yeah, 7 pounds.
Well, this is almost like this is almost like a thesis piece on this just the soft goods medium. And you mentioned before, but having done all the work on this guy and working in anything but soft goods on the internal parts. Yeah. Going off what you mentioned before, does this make you kind of want to go like, what if I, take what I've learned, all these skills, and move into just straight up completely different materials, like you're saying for cosplay stuff, like hard materials, like armor materials. Yeah. Is that starting to have like an interest or a draw?
Yeah, I would like to be able to build a cosplay, because the only cosplay I built was a Shattered Prime. I did it for BotCon 2010. I was the Shattered Prime, and all I did was grab some fabric and some like upholstery foam or something, and it's like, I look like a gigantic plush. I'm like, well, that wasn't quite whatever. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just like, let's just make a cosplay, and I made it out of all soft materials and darn near died in the heat. Florida. It was in Florida, I remember.
Oh God, was that the Disney World?
That was the Disney World one, yes, it's like Florida.
That was ridiculous, that heat. Like, half of us had to go across that horrible walkway of like the hell walk in the morning.
Yes, I had to do that too, and I was like, in costume, I was like, this is ridiculous, I'm not doing this again. I'm going to try to find different materials for this and stuff.
Even at TFCon, like, there was a fellow who was doing I think he was doing a Hulk costume. Oh. And I remember he was in the costume contest.
I think I may have seen it.
Yeah, I think he had a Shafter costume as well.
Oh yeah,
And I remember in his Hulk costume, he was all into it, totally getting into it, in character, shouting, having a good time. But like a few hours later, I saw him, and because his costume was a big, bulky thing, lots of face paint too. He was just like, I gotta.
Yeah,
like he just had,
he's got to get out of it.
He had to step outside, go back to his room, like take a break. Yeah, because it was a full body enclosure kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like die in those things and stuff.
Well, I've asked this question before. I think when I've spoken to cosplayers, and it's especially with a piece like this, it makes me think. With all the skills you picked up with this, aside from looking into going into other materials or costuming parts or just hard materials. This is like borderline, just straight up prop manufacturing. I say thesis, as I think that really explains what the piece is. Like, it's got so much going on. Do you feel like moving into prop making as a trade you might want to explore?
I've always wanted to explore. I just don't know how to get into it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would love to make props for a stage or a theater and stuff, and I'm like, how do people get into that? They have connections. Oh, doggone it.
Well, on the practical level, I feel like it's not like even you've been walking kind of a parallel path. You've circled around it all, like grabbed things through the window. Yeah. I feel like it's something like, even on just a hobby level, like it would be cool to see how you explore that space.
Well, if I had a bigger living space, because living in a squishy apartment really isn't ideal, I would have like machine equipment and stuff, because I did take wood shop when I was younger and stuff, and I really love playing with the machinery and stuff, and just seeing what I can do with different materials, fabricating different things and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's why I was like, ooh, I'd love to make props and stuff, but it's like, I don't know how to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can't get into the industry proper, like I'd love to see like your take on just even, I don't know, like a weapon of sorts, or like a helmet, a glove piece, like just some
big huge weapon that makes no sense whatsoever, but it just looks cool.
Yeah, it's like mixed media, and there's like magnets, and it actually is like it's held together by chains, and it shoots lasers through the chain hoops. This is why I don't work in props. No one wants to hear my ideas. Yeah, I'm
the stuff that moves and changes. Like, wait, that thing expands and opens. Yes, I like doing stuff like that.
Like
the unexpected.
What's it called? You know that ball, that the children's toy, like the science toy. It's like it expands out when you pull on it, because it's like a big framework. It's like a big sphere.
yeah. I know exactly which one. It's like, takes me a minute. Like, I have to picture it in my mind. Yes.
I don't remember the name of it.
I don't know it either, but I know what you're talking about, and it's like you don't expect it to do that.
Yeah, like something like that. Like
Yeah.
the notion of that.
Yeah.
Like a different shape or something.
Yeah, I like things like that and stuff because I was like, I wonder if there's a way I could, you know, because like even for like a display, like the way I had my plushes displayed, it works, but I would love something that, you know, it would be a single piece that, you know, it would fold and then it's like open, look, ooh, moving parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen things like where they have like this circular table, and then as soon as you grab an end of it, it doesn't matter what end, and you start rotating it, it like enlarges and it starts transforming and becoming really huge, and like it suddenly goes from like a 4-person circular table to like this giant 12-person table. It's like, whoa, watch that again, dude, how do they do that?
It's like that tactile experience that like makes it so exciting outside. Like it's more than just like being able to appreciate, you know, the shape or the imagery. It's like, no, it does a thing when I do this.
It does a thing, yes. I love the unexpected. It's like people are like, wait, that did that just? They're not expecting, like,
literally, you know, my reaction at
Yeah.
TFCon when I saw the chest open.
Yeah, you're not expecting that chest to open on the plush. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to see. Like, I hope it is feasible for you to stick with it and pursue the projects you want to do. I want to see where this goes. This is just like, you know, moving into the latter half of this, like dialing back a bit, just about TF Expo. You had a booth,
Yeah.
and you did some of the show exclusives.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Like knowing that, like, you know, some of your stuff was part of like the marketing of the show.
I never thought I'd have that kind of experience. I'm like, wow, wait, my stuff is that good? That doesn't. What? Oh my goodness, I'm going to put a cloth over my head and scream for a bit, like, what is this? But yeah, that was a pretty amazing experience, although I still don't want to sew 900 bumblebees. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but and you sew that many, it's like, oh no, not him again.
Yeah.
At least not for a while.
But like in the dealer room at the booth, like you know, here and at TFCon, like you clearly have, like, I guess you'd say regulars, or folks who they have their trademark piece they got from you that it means a whole lot to them.
Yeah.
Like what's it like seeing, you know, over the years, like more and more of your stuff in person out there, like in people's arms, like
yes,
around,
I am taking over the world one plush at a time. I don't know. I really like it. I think for me it's like, oh wow, everybody loves my stuff, and it's just cool. And then it's like I have some people, they take their plushie on adventures and stuff, and they blog about it, and it's like, look, he stole my pizza, he stole my candy, or whatever, and it's like, I love seeing that stuff. It makes me feel really good.
Is it like seeing creativity caused almost entirely by this thing you made that they bought?
Yeah, and I just love seeing the love around it and everything. It's like, wow, they really love that, and it makes me feel good, and it's like, wow, I want to do more.
Yeah.
And I want to see what else I can do and things like that. Yeah, there's some plushes though, it's like, nah, I'm not going to do that one, I'm going to kill that one. It's like I had some pillow pals, and they're cute and stuff, but they're not up to what I'm wanting them to be.
Yeah, like you don't want to settle for it just because it's working. You want to...
Yeah, because with that design, it actually, the pillow pals, I actually have a copyright on that specific shape.
Nice.
Not the characters, but that shape. I did a bunch of like little simple animals, and I called them pillow pals, and I got that actually registered for no other reason than I don't know. I'm not sure why I did that, but
well, you can say you've got a thing registered.
Yeah.
Like.
But, yeah, and they were originally done in a fabric similar to Minky. People are like crazy about Minky, but it's like, no, there was a fabric before that. It's a fabric called Velboa. It's not quite as soft, but it is furry, and it's not as stretchy, but it's just as evil to work with because it's fuzzy everywhere. And I just don't feel that having them screen printed on plain old cotton has that same feel to me. I'm like, it's not quite what I want. And I know I can get the screen printer that I'm using to print on Minky, but it's twice the cost to print on Minky. I'm like, I'm not sure people want to pay for the added material cost. I don't know. I mean, I might try a few and see what happens. I don't know at this point.
It's like, speaking of the cost, I don't know how much you want to break it down, but like when you try to figure out like the pricing out of what you, because you know you make a lot of stuff that you're able to sell as, you know, legit product at conventions. When you figure out the pricing, like is it hard to find the balance between just the, you know, the black and white materials cost versus what is my time worth?
It's very hard because I think that people see plushies as stuff for children and it should be cheap and stuff, and it's like, no, that's China's slave labor. That's third world market stuff. Yeah, they can obtain thousands of yards of fabric at like pennies and pay overseas workers, you know.
And the impetus behind that stuff is like, you know, this is for a claw machine, you know.
Yeah, and well, some of the quality I've seen from mass made is like, ugh, no, I don't like it. I can do because I won't buy a lot of mass made plushes because I'll pick it up and be like, I could make that better.
Yeah, like it feels like you see it as a medium less so than just like a product type.
Yeah.
And once again, I refer to soft sculpture prime, like that it's more talking about it as like it's a medium in which to work, not just an archetype. Like it's not like a blueprint. This is what a plush is.
Yeah. I have thought about doing like an actual video of how a plush comes together, but it would be extremely boring and it would not be safe for work because I have a potty mouth.
And there'd be stabbing and
blood. There would be. It just would not be very pretty and stuff, and it'd just be very, very boring. I would have to really speed it up, and it still wouldn't give people a whole. I'm like, how do I explain to people that this takes a lot of work and what I'm charging, I could technically charge a lot more for.
Well, it's a real hard equation to lay out.
Yeah, like, it's very hard.
I know a fellow who's doing 3D printed toys, and I asked him just how many hours it takes to go from I'm going to push the print button to I have a finished figure. And at the time, he was like 14 hours. And I was like, okay, so 14 hours, ignoring that the printing might go wrong, and ignoring that you actually designed the character, and ignoring that you then redesigned it in CAD, 14 hours. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, and you're charging this much? And I do the math in my head. I'm like, literally just dividing that number by 4. It's ridiculous you're charging that low. It's amazing.
Yeah. The keybots I think are pretty on par. They're pretty easy, and you know, $10. That's pretty on par with materials, and time-wise they're pretty simple and stuff. But like for the bigger plush bots. Okay, this is a bad example because he's only 4 inches.
I saw at your table, like you've got like those.
The 10-inch one. Yeah, those are the standard plush bots and stuff. Those from start to finish can average about 20, 25 hours. Some of the more detailed ones, because I've done like some of the. I've taken the prime ones and simplified them as much as I can without taking away too much. Yeah. But those can go 30 to 40 some odd hours and stuff, because it's like. There's only so much I can take away before it doesn't look like the character anymore, and it's like, no, I gotta put that back in there, and it takes time and stuff, because I didn't bring him, but I have a little simpler plush bot, Prime Optimus, and to do the detail on him, he's actually layered. Yeah. And he's got manually embroidered, like I manually sit there with my sewing machine and slowly turn the fabric. It's not automated, and sit there and do that, and it takes time because it's like, okay, I got this line in place, stop, now do this line, now stop, now turn and do this line. It's very time consuming as well, so it's like, yeah, that's gonna cost more if you want one. And
Transformers don't really have like a set body type, right? Like,
well, unless G1, I mean, they're kind of, there's
like Boxmen in a way.
Well, like the G1 are pretty easy, because I use, let's see, the arms, the legs. I have to laugh. The crotch piece is universal.
The
like, oh god.
The fluoro dairy model sheets.
There's about 5 or 6 different torso shapes.
Yeah.
And then the heads, well, I try to keep it simple, because otherwise it can get really, really out of hand. Unfortunately, with the Prime ones, it's like, really? They all have individual...
yeah, all the fins and everything.
Yeah, they have all this finicky stuff, and I'm like, oh my God.
What's his name? The guy who does all the Prime designs.
Jose Lopez?
Do you ever want to someday just... Did you take him aside and go like, I love what you do, but I really need to just hit you?
No, I never told him that I needed to hit him. I actually love his work because it's beautiful. I think aesthetically, it's beautiful, and I've met a few people who don't like the Prime design. I'm like, we can't talk. We can't talk. Nope. End of discussion. We are not talking. We're not discussing this because aesthetically, I think they are very, very pretty. It's my favorite series, by the way. Well,
the reason why I like to talk about the hours breakdown, like, specifically, is because, like, I think that's the thing that a whole lot of people just take absolutely for granted. And, you know, especially in a small, like, one-person operation, more or less.
Yeah.
And the reason I talk about body shapes, like, there are some Transformers with wildly unique body shapes.
Yeah.
Easy examples, stuff like, you know, members of the DJD, or, like, animated Lugnut.
Or
like,
Arachnid.
Or Arachnid with friggin'... Like, yeah, like spider arms.
Skinny spider arms and stuff.
On one of those kind of pieces, like, would you say that's like a commission-only kind of thing? Like,
yeah, some of them are commission-only because it would just be too confusing to bring it out to show and be like, well, why is that one more expensive than...
It's like, well, you gotta point at a Lugnut and go like, well, notice how he has a cyclopean head and a giant jaw and
he's got a completely
Lugnut's
animated Lugnut's got a completely different... He's got a very specific... shape and pattern and stuff. He's his own.
Yeah.
He's his own. I mean, there's nothing that can be shared amongst the other plushes and stuff. He has his own pattern, and that's it.
Yeah.
I have to redevelop it, but yeah, a little bit. I'd like to fix some parts up on it and make it look even better. But yeah, I like that one a lot. I'm like, ooh, he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very unique in his own little way.
His own, like, hunchy kind of way.
Yeah, in his hunchy kind of way.
Well, yeah, I love getting this insight into, like, what results in, you know, this as I said, this thing I see more and more outside of your table at shows over the years. I guess...
I used to work on them a lot more, I guess, in higher volume and stuff, but it's too much for a single person, so I've cut back a lot because, like, when I did human dolls, I could take on like 30 at a time, and well, human dolls are pretty easy. It's the human shape. There's only so much. I mean, I can lengthen the arms on this one for a lankier look, and lengthen the legs or shorten them.
They're not going to suddenly have a giant turbine or an acid tank in the middle of their stomach.
No, they're not going to have like these great big old fins and wacky things. I'm like, what on earth is that? Yeah.
Well, this is I guess like a looking to the future kind of question. And obviously, this is a real flexible answer that could change any time. But like as things are now, do you feel like there's a point somewhere in the future where you aren't the only person working on this stuff, and you've got people helping you on the production end just to handle volume?
I don't know about handling volume, but like my brothers helped me with like some of the computer aspects with learning how to use a digitizing program. It's all his fault that I waste so much time on a program called Manga Studio. He's
across the room with a huge smile, holding up 2 thumbs up and nodding.
Yes, yeah. As soon as I learned how to use that program, I could digitize the designs and the keybots and stuff, and add all sorts of crazy details and like ooh and stuff like that. He actually helped. Well, early on, when I was still making anime dolls, the faces on my plushes looked really stale, bland. Ooh, look, they're all the same and zombies. And I'm like, okay, no, this isn't gonna work. And I actually had his creativity runs in the family, but he's better with faces, and now I've got a pretty good grip on it because now it's like I can do really good facial expressions. I love doing that. That's part of the reason why the original plush bots that had the gem eyes, or those acrylic jewel eyes, whatever they are, I dropped doing that and went to embroidered faces because I felt that the plastic gems limited that and just really I was like, wow, these look like my first human plushes. They're all the same. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. If I want a grumpy looking plush, he needs to look absolutely frumpy and displeased and stuff. Or if I want some plush up to absolutely no good, I want a plush with a face that's going to be like, hee, what am I doing today, sort of thing. But production-wise, I'm not sure at this point.
I'm sure, and I think a lot of people have gone through this. Like, it's hard to find that gray zone that lies between the artistry and just like dead manufacturing.
Yeah.
And like, it sounds like you were exploring that, and like, I gotta dial back what I'm doing here. Like, I'm making too much. Like, it's
well, my body's sort of taking a toll on it and stuff. I'm like, why am I hurting? I'm getting old, really? No, I can't. No, I've been very, very unkind to these hands. I actually have arthritis in a few fingers.
Man.
It sucks because it's like, wow, when it flares up, it's like, okay, I am sewing too much. Yeah, I have to cut it back a bit and be kind to myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like I said, I really want to see where all this goes, like a couple years from now. Hoping you're still at it, because you got a really good, like, you've got the kind of attitude that I really like to see in a creative, that I like to tell people, like, who want to do something creative, because you're clearly you're
just experiment a lot. A lot of it's just experimentation and stuff, but like
you're experimenting, and you want to challenge yourself, and you seem not very content with the idea of like, all right, I hit a peak.
No, I like to see just how far I can push the bar. It's like, how far can I go, and just make it completely absurd and stuff. That I'm actually working on the Prime 2.0. Oh my god, I don't know what I'm thinking. He's got quadruple the amount of detail. There will be. I will probably flip a table or two, but yeah.
But you gotta try, right? Like, you gotta.
Yeah, I want to see if he can be done too. I'd actually like to get to doing like something like Predaking.
That would be fun.
Like, okay, he needs to be as huge as a couch. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, but like all creative people, I've gone through burnout stages and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's actually the biggest reason why I don't do human dolls as much. I went through massive burnout. It's like, rage quit, I'm done, and stuff. Yeah,
I had enough of these little anime people looking at me.
It's kind of sad in a way, because I've only done maybe 24 human plushes since then, because I just I'm done. That was like 2006, I think.
It just became like tiresome.
Yeah, it's tiresome. It was frustrating, and just all sorts of things. One thing added on to another, and some other petty things, and I was just like, all right, I'm done. I took a little break, and I was like, oh, let's try robots, because I've always loved robots, and Transformers, woo, perfect.
Well,
of that sort of stuff, but yeah.
Just to like cap things off, like I see it like at TFCon and stuff. Like, you're, as a creative, you have a lot of contact with other creatives. Not in the Transformers medium, of course, like in that niche, but just in general with fan creatives, people who want to make stuff based on what they love. Like, is there something that you really love it when you see it, and maybe is there something you would love to see happen, like, or something you'd love to see somebody do, in general?
I think I like a lot of different work when I see it. I know quite a few plush makers that from the original community. Some have moved on, which is understandable, because of a variety of reasons. But others are still at it, but they're not in the same stuff. I mean, some of them make like Pokemon and stuff. I have a friend who did They did a Poe from Legend of Zelda, and with a lantern and stuff. I was like, oh my god! If he ever makes another one, I want it. I'm like, I've got to have it. It's like, oh my gosh! But I'm not gonna ask him, because life's gotten busy for him, and he hasn't been able to sew as much. And the person who inspired me, I still follow her on Twitter, and I'd love to see her pick up sewing again, but life's gotten crazy busy for her. and stuff. But yeah, she's been into miniatures and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I love it when she posts stuff. I'm like, I want some of her things. Yeah, her name's Hatsuko Mitsumori.
Hatsuko Mitsumori.
Yeah. A lot of people would have known her by her original handle as Hatsukoi from the UFO Catcher forums, which is no longer alive. It doesn't exist anymore. It's really sad because some of us are like wishing to revive it, and no, people are just so all over the place, and nobody visits message board forums that much. Well, not that I know of. I mean, we're all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. We're just scattered.
Yeah, everyone kind of moved, like social media kind of washed over the message board culture in a way.
And sometimes I see like people do like custom, like some of those shapeways things. I'm like, how do they do that? I'm like, because I was like, wow, if I could figure out how to do some more of that plastic stuff, it's like I'd be doing some more crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be like, ooh.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of people are saying that's the next technology that's going to become more widespread. Is, you know, the 3D printer at home.
Yeah, I'm looking at 3D printers like, ooh, what in the world can I do with this? Figurines? No, I don't know. Maybe skeletons for other things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got like all sorts of ideas running wild, and I'm like, stop.
It's like I gotta at least like organize them at least in a column of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe with dashes on the side. I don't know.
Yeah, dashes on the side, and it's like, which one is more priority? I don't know. And yeah, stuff like that. I see that kind of stuff, and it's like, I want to get into that, and ooh, I want to get into this, and yeah, I sort of mix everything together, and it's like, okay, what in the world? Things like that. Yeah, because it's like, wait, you used a torch on that thing? Yes. Torch.
Well, I mean, in 3D printing, people use like heated acetone to make a vapor to melt the outer layer of plastic, and it's like, it's just stuff like that it's like the maker style of things. It's so fascinating. We're closing in on an hour, so we're beating that last podcast.
Yes. Yes.
But thanks so much for your time. I've wanted to ask you all kinds of questions about what you do for a while.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, and if people do want to ask you things, you've got presence on all kinds of social media.
I'm kind of shy on social media. I've got I don't know, there's times I've gotten a little grrr with people, and then people are like, oh, she's just an angry little whatever, and I'm like, no, I'm very proud of what I do and stuff, and it's like, if you sit me down and talk to me and ask the right questions, I will tell you just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff. It's like, yeah, I've gotten a little grrr at times, and
it happens. I went through that.
I'm really passionate about what I do and stuff, and it's like, I love what I do, and sometimes it's like, I feel like people don't have quite the appreciation levels that they could have.
That's why I really wanted to record this, because like it's like, now we're gonna lay out we've laid out you know, if you don't think this stuff is difficult to do, here there's an injury list, here's a couple of hours counts, here's what's inside this experimental piece.
Well, like it would be fun to if there was a way to like sort of make like a customization class to actually build the plush, but I'm like, wow, this would have to be like some super simple thing that people could do in under an hour, you know, or something. Maybe do a custom keybot. I don't know, because the keybots are quick enough, but the plushes themselves they just take forever, and some of the parts are so hard to turn. And it's interesting because like people who sew clothing, well, clothing just hangs on a body, but if you get to people who sew plushes and stuff, they have very nimble fingers.
Yeah.
Very, very nimble fingers, because I can turn tubes of fabric that are as thin as a pencil, and people are like, how on earth did you turn something so thin? Yeah, very nimble fingers and very special tools.
Doing it a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of patience, and you have to have just the right hold, and the tool as it pokes it and gets it to start turning and things like that. And it's a little more complicated than people think, because there's books out there that teaches all the simple basic stuff, but to get into like some of the custom stuff, it's like, well, you start experimenting, you start grabbing patterns and you start pulling them apart, and you
see what they're made of.
You start changing the lines. You're like, well, what if I change the oopsies? Or, you know, it's like, well, can I fuse? Will this pattern line up to this? Because I like the head on this, but I like the body on that. And you start fusing things, and then you start understanding how some of the shapes and lines work and the curvatures and stuff. And eventually it's like, oh, okay. So it's like, yeah, I don't even look at pattern books very much anymore. It's like, I just know. I'm like, whoop, whoop. Yeah, there's the pattern.
You got like the sense for it.
Yeah, you get a feel for it. Well, 15 years, I would hope. It's like, wow, I can't believe I've been doing this for 15 years.
Oh, I mean,
oh my gosh.
Podcasting videos, once I cleared the 5-year mark, I was like, it's just going to be 5 years forever. I've always just been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, just 5 years.
Anything past that, I don't like the idea of that. That's long enough for a human child to have gone from infant to talking.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 15 years and stuff. It just, yeah, I'd like to get into some other stuff. You know.
Those skills are almost of a legal drinking age.
Legal drinking. Oh dear. Wait, are we talking legal drinking age in Germany or in the U.S.?
Always start in Europe, and then you move to parts of Canada, and then get to the U.S.
Okay, I was gonna say. I think.
Well, like I said, like, thanks for your time and sharing so much of what you do, and I really hope this has been informative for folks, just to at least better understand another medium, you know. And thanks to your brother for chilling out through 2 podcasts, and also thanks to Donnie for setting up a whole lot of this stuff and chilling out for most of it. Hope that you guys have enjoyed these interviews, and. That's TFCon. That's not TFCon, in fact.
Get it right.
Donnie's over here. He like, that was a snap motion. The eyeball turn.
You're gonna get beat up.
That's TF Expo 2015. So I hope you enjoyed that. Talk to you guys later.